Well, my God, forget Leo. The real superstar of the zodiac is, of course, Sagittarius. With that drive to grow, for self development, to fulfill, find every possibility, and become your best and biggest self. You're turning me on. You're turning me on. The feeling was gone now, baby. Yeah. You're turning. Hi, welcome to our top 12 Sagittarius superstars. Yes, in the last hours of the Sagi season, we are going to celebrate our Sagis properly. I'm sorry, apologies, Sag. I committed the cardinal sin this season and starved you of attention. But forgive me, it was because I was actually following the Sagittarius Prime directive for myself and leveling up and supersizing my own platforms. I'm a Sun Jupiter, so I feel your pain. Okay, so all is forgiven. Well, my God, forget Leo. The real superstar of the zodiac is, of course, Sagittarius. With that drive to grow, for self-development, to fulfill, find every possibility, and become your best and biggest self. The Sagittarian mission at its core is really to unite worldly and material, physical, tangible success with nothing less than the wisdom of the gods. It was a mammoth task. It was overwhelming. So many centaurs to choose from. You have the owls, who emphasize the cerebral and the knowledgeable side of this dual sign. And you have the stallions, who just give all their energy to stamping, running through life, racing to have the most success, the biggest success, the fastest success. So, yeah, as you can imagine, I was daunted. Sagittarius can also be divided into what I call the insufferable Sagis, who suffer and make us all suffer from a guru complex and an ego the size of Texas. Then we have the inspirational Sag, whose irrepressible spirit and true vision, utter showmanship and joie de vivre inspires us all to become alive. You may note that when they're not performing or on stage, you will not see an abundance of this bouncing and overbearing, bombastic behavior that is the stereotype of the sign. As I told you over and over again, the sun does not necessarily tell us about your actual behavior. It is a goal. It is the qualities that we are striving towards, that we admire and we identify with. So many of these Sagis are curiously serious, and they're very serious about themselves, when they're not on camera. So don't be surprised. As always, these are not necessarily my favorite Sagis, although some of them I absolutely love. But they do epitomize, typify the Jupiterian principles. So, are you ready? Okay, there you are. Hi. It's actually the next day. After I said my hello, I just popped in to go over my copious notes, and Those Sagi superstars are a prolific and draining bunch, simply exhausting. And because their magnitude simply cannot be contained indoors, we are outside. We've got the beach behind me, the restaurant next to me, the dogs, the seagulls, the cars, and all the wonderful sounds of the Met at Christmas. So I'm afraid you're going to be treated to my amazing sound effects and special effects as usual. Oh my goodness. Well, you know I'm in my 50s, and if you thought that I needed my glasses and my copious notes before, good God, pray for me now. Well, the Sagis are a long-lived bunch. And they seem to have a generational appeal for decades. And even the youngsters on our superstar list seem to have an output that would put the Chinese manufacturing industry to shame. Well, here we go. Number 12, Woody Allen. Yes, our opening act, Woody. I would have preferred not to have included Woody and gone for one of the other superstar Sagi directors like Spielberg or the lovely Ben Stiller, but there was no denying him. His body of work is immense and impressive. His genius simply undeniable, and his Jupiterian essence quintessential. In addition, he is also the ultimate example of Sagi gone wrong. If a Sagi neglects one half of the centaur and favors another to the extreme, in this case, Woody favored mind over body, then there will be trouble. If the Sagi bodily needs and remit is ignored, the Sagi body will wreak revenge in either physical illness or recurring physical illness, or a perversion of the natural instincts. Although he is undeniably a superstar and a mega success, the fact remains that Woody is married to his ex-partner's adopted daughter, to whom he was a father figure from childhood. So let's get this over with as quickly and painlessly as possible. He's obviously some type of sacred cow in Hollywood, because he is one of the few Sagis who actually got through a major scandal and still has support and respect. So here we go. Born on December the 1st, 1935 in Brooklyn, New York, of course. This genius by 19 was a staff writer, a comedy staff writer at NBC, writing for shows like Phil Silvers, Sid Caesar, etc., etc. He was also a humorist, story writer for the New York Times, and it went on. By the 60s, he was a stand-up comic in his own right, and was a regular on the Johnny Carson show, had his own specials, the Woody Allen show in Britain and in the US by the mid-60s, and of course he was also simultaneously a playwright. In the 70s he got together with Diane Keaton and many other female proteges, and came into his own with his romantic comedies. Annie Hall garnered 4 Oscars in 1977, including Best Picture and Best Director for Woody. It goes on and on. 80s, he got into European art house, and he continued to give us endless
product, yeah, that we really can't pretend wasn't actually quite brilliant. At 83, this juggernaut continues and shows no signs of abating. Good, we've got him out of the way. Woody Allen, number 12. Number 11, larger than life, Monique. And as befits one of the queens of comedy, we have amplified sound effects as we approach lunchtime. Okay, Monique was born in Maryland, Baltimore on December the 11th, 1967. She somehow worked her way up quite quickly into the comedy circuit and even produced her own comedy show, live show at a comedy club, among many things. Armed with her degree in broadcasting and forceful persona, she became best known as Nicki Parker in the television series The Parkers, and of course as a host and acclaimed performer at Showtime at the Apollo. She seamlessly made the move into film with movies such as Fat Girls and many star turns in other comedic films. She's very interesting, is our Monique. Not because she is necessarily as prolific as the rest of the superstars, although she's done her part, she has worked, yeah. But because she is one of the Sagis that best typifies what happens when the Sagittarian ego gets a little bit overinflated. I'm not saying that Monique is necessarily wrong in her various wars with big players in Hollywood, but most Sagi superstars understand from the beginning that you make very powerful allies and you stay on their good side and you play the game. If you actually begin to believe your own hype to the extent where you think you can actually dictate the terms to the powers that be, then you will be in for a very rude awakening, whether you have Zeus, Jupiter on your side or not. Monique managed to go from Fat Girls to scoring an Academy Award and a BAFTA and I think a Golden Globe as well for her seminal portrayal of an abusive mother in the horror story that was Precious in 2009. She then went on to have her own late night talk show until 2011 and generally expand at that time. However, since then, I think Monique, who has never been a charmer and has a very stereotypical case of foot in the mouth disease that Sagis are supposed to all have, even though they don't all have, that is not serving her well in her mission for world domination. There's a difference between keeping it real and keeping it rude. And yes, you know, she's known for some controversial views on things. And of course, she had to do the fitness angle. After all, she said about loving being a big girl. Of course, she had to turn around and become an advocate for female fitness and lose tons of weight. But nevertheless, I think Monique may serve to be prime example of what not to do to get ahead and how not to win friends and influence people. But she is a Sag and irrepressible with an enormous talent. So she may surprise us with one of those bouncy comebacks yet. Number 10, in stark contrast, the lovely Jamie Foxx. Born on December the 13th, 1967, also 1967, in Terrell, Texas, raised by his adoptive grandparents and a child musical protege from 5 with ambitions to be a musician and to play basketball for the Dallas Cowboys. Jamie is a masterclass in exactly how to play the game and win. Jamie is one of our charming stealth Saggies, if such an oxymoron actually exists. Oh, it does. And he managed to go from the class joker in a still segregated Terrell, Texas, to a stand-up comedian and a jobbing musician, all the way to an Oscar. Without managing to offend anyone too greatly or appear to be anything less than rather self-effacing, sweet and upbeat. Yes, I like your style, Jamie. Like his style. Born Eric Marlon Bishop, Jamie renamed himself in honor of the comedian Red Fox, and he claims so that the club promoters would mistake him for a female comedian who received a favorable booking status until he got there. And then, by 1996, he had his own Jamie Foxx show after a tour de force stints on In Living Color. Wow. Typically, like so many successful black male comedians before him, he made a name for himself with a black female drag character. Yes, much in the style of Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence before him. However, clever little Jamie somehow managed not to totally offend his largely black female audience and remained respectful and deferential, particularly in regard to his beloved grandmother, who he credits for much of his success. The usual formula: he started to make inroads simultaneously into serious movie acting and began to build a little career in that field and starred in movies such as Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino and The March Continued. But it was in 2004 that Jamie Foxx brought together his myriad of talents that, as an impressionist and a musician and a really quite fine actor, when he starred in the biopic Ray about the legendary Ray Charles. Wow. Jamie stunned the world, and I'm going to have to look at my notes. Of course, won the Academy Award for Best Actor. He won a BAFTA, he won a Golden Globe, and the list went on. He was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor in the same year for Collateral Damage. Wow. And of course that catapulted his previously less than stellar music career into the stratosphere and began to collect those Grammys for his albums. What can I say? Now, Jamie, that's the way you do it. With a smile on your face and let's not forget the rebuilt body and $1 million bank account by playing at the game with the powers that be. Number 9, the great Dame Judi Dench OBE. I was always gonna include Dame Judi on this list just because, but when I researched her life, wow, she truly is a Sagittarian superstar. And again, one of these inspirational, stealthy, elegant Sagis who rose to the top with enormous success, made it look effortless. Wow. Born on December the 9th, 1934. I couldn't believe she's in her mid-80s. Wow. In Yorkshire, to a GP father and a wardrobe designer mother, Judi Dench had theatre in her blood from the beginning. Her career is just prolific and awe-inspiring. She did TV, film, theatre, you name it, and is a mega philanthropist. It's just stunning. And like several other of our octogenarian Sagi superstars, she has an enduring appeal that has spanned 60 years and several generations. And God, does she look good doing it? She has, and I'm going to need my notes for this, 7 Oscar nominations and the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for her role as Queen Elizabeth in Shakespeare in Love, 6 BAFTAs, 4 BAFTA TV Awards, 7 Olivier Awards, 2 Saga Awards, 2 Golden Globes, and a Tony Award. And guess what? She was the first woman to play M in Bond, right up until 2012. I don't you just love it? And she has offended no one, universally respected and adored. Now that's how you do Sagi. Her debut in theatre came in 1957 at the Old Vic, and she has gone on to perform again and again over the decades with the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre Company. She has had long-running television series, including A Fine Romance, and 13 years on As Time Goes By. She just won't stop. She has, to appeal to the cerebral side of her, she has honorary degrees from Cambridge and Stirling University, actually a honorary doctorate from Stirling, and 4 more that I can't read my own notes about. My goodness. And her charity work is just endless. I think she's on 180 charitable awards, largely concerned with medicine and survival. What can we say? Jame, Judi Dench, M herself. We salute you, we're not worthy. Number 8, the mighty Bruce Lee, and one of my personal favorites. Born on the 27th of November 1940 at both the hour and in the year of the dragon. Bruce Lee was an action film actor, martial arts instructor extraordinaire, philosopher, filmmaker, and the creator of Jeet Kune Do. I hope I got that right. He's one of my personal favorites because he was always so honest and transparent about his desire to unite fame and showmanship with personal philosophy and physical excellence. I like that. There was no subterfuge or faffing about pretending that he was going to be self-effacing. No, he was honest, and everything he bragged about, he could deliver. Bruce almost single-handedly revolutionized the image of martial arts in the West in the 1970s and inspired a wave of interest in the West in martial arts, including in my own daddy, who in the 70s became a first dan in karate. He only made 5 movies, including, notes, The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, and Way of the Dragon, that he wrote, produced, and directed himself. But nevertheless, he became one of the biggest icons of the 20th century and a guru. Born in Chinatown, San Francisco, he was a dual American and Chinese citizen, but grew up in Hong Kong. Like many of the Sagis in our superstar list, his childhood was comparatively privileged, even though the area in which they lived eventually became slightly ghettoized when the wave of immigration from China came into Hong Kong. Bruce was a fighter from very early on, always in a street fight here, there and everywhere, and originally his fighting spirit was channeled into a martial art called Wing Chun. But he was to go on to combine Wing Chun with many other disciplines and various schools of martial art to create Jeet Kune Do, or Way of the Intercepting Fist. I don't know if Bruce, in all his confidence, would have eventually become one of our insufferable Sagis had he lived. But I choose to presume that he would have remained an inspirational Sagi. Now, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Take a look at this clip of his nearest and dearest speaking about him that speaks volumes.
Bruce, a total lifetime dedication to his art. He could take care of business, but he had a very active sense of humor.
He was a braggart in a way, but he never bragged about anything that he wasn't capable of.
Everybody just loved him around the set because of his enthusiasm. He kept it pretty interesting.
There's nobody I quite remember enjoying being a celebrity as he did.
He was the catalyst that set that whole martial arts all in motion. And it's a shame he didn't live to see the impact that he had.
He was not just a fighter. Bruce was a philosopher and a teacher.
All type of knowledge ultimately means self-knowledge. As an actor, as a martial artist, as a human being, all these I have learned from martial art.
Number 7, the irrepressible Tyra Banks. Born on December the 4th, 1973 in Inglewood, California, she began her modeling career at just 15. Why is Tyra insufferable? That is the question. To be honest, I really can't put my finger on it. She's bouncy, iridescent, personable, relatively charming. But there's something about her relentless drive to expansion that just gets under everyone's skin. Not fair, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. She's a very, very accomplished young lady, and one of only 2 bona fide supermodels of the 90s. I think we all know who the other one is, but more about that later. I'm really going to have to go to my notes for this because I'm not a fan. Yep, she was the first black woman to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated and GQ. Quite a privilege. What a body. She was signed to Elite Models at 16 after being turned down by 4 modeling agencies and, as she claims, being mercilessly bullied at school for her looks. In 1991, she had the opportunity to model in Europe and apparently did 25 shows straight at the 1991 Paris Fashion Week. She was a smash. Stayed there for a few years and modeled for everyone from YSL to Notes, Dior, graced the cover of Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, and in 1993 returned to the States for a massive deal with CoverGirl. She simultaneously managed to survive a catty feud with our very own Naomi Campbell, become Oprah's protege, and make inroads into the acting world with movies such as Higher Learning, directed by then boyfriend John Singleton, and Life Size and Coyote Ugly. Well, in 1997 came the big one, America's Next Top Model, and Tyra became one of the most recognizable supermodel faces in the world. The show ran until 2008 and was the cornerstone of Tyra's empire that involved fashion and cosmetics. Again, I can't put my finger on it why our Tyra is so insufferable. But I really, really admire her and her drive and her passion for following every possible opportunity. The cars are starting and the sun is going down because the Sagis are so exhausting. Ooh, number 6. William Brad Pitt, born on the 18th of December 1963 in Oklahoma and raised in Missouri. Beautiful Brad wrote the manifesto on how to do Sagi success spectacularly and have everybody love you for it. What can I say? I'm going to have to go to my notes, although I really shouldn't have to because I was a fan since Interview with the Vampire, but I'm in my 50s for this one. He started off in daytime soaps and as eye candy in Dallas, and then came that breakthrough moment, which was actually at the start of his Saturn return. Even though he looked 25, he was pushing 30, and we all know what I'm talking about. It's that moment in Thelma and Louise.
Simple as that. Then I just slip on out and
Where were you when that came on the screen? Just like we all know where we were when Kennedy was assassinated. We all know where we were when Brad became the sexiest heist robber, call it what you want, of all time. And yes, we all know what happened next. Brad's laid-back, blue-eyed, blonde ambition took him all the way to the top with an easy smile and a good word for everyone. Don't you just love it? At the tail end of his Saturn return, his enormous fame and popularity was cemented with Interview with a Vampire, let me check, 1992. A River Runs Through It, yeah, directed by Redford, who I'm sure saw himself, or his younger days, in Beautiful Brad, and of course, Seven.
David, if you kill him, he will win.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
That is when we really saw that Brad Pitt was so much more than a pretty face and awesome abs. He acted his heart out in Seven and was actually nominated, I think, for an Academy Award for it. Yes, with dedication to his craft, he went from teen idol to leading man taken very seriously to powerhouse producer. Brad was again nominated for an Academy Award for his stellar performance in 12 Monkeys, and again for the masterpiece that was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He sustained his status with the ladies with two high-profile pair-ups. One with, of course, everybody's friend Jennifer, and then the scandalous uniting with the sexiest woman alive, who received that accolade that matched his own sexiest man alive. I think he won that twice. Correct me if I'm wrong. Brad has actually, as a producer, had 4 movies nominated for Best Picture Academy Award. Did you know that? Who knew? And 2 actually won. One, of course, was The Departed, and the other, 12 Years a Slave. Brad Pitt, you are an inspiration. And for every Sagi out there, this is how it's done. Respect. Bounding in at number 5, it is the irrepressible Jane Fonda. Oh my God, I need my notes. Born on December the 21st, 1937, daughter of course, Henry Fonda and the socialite mum Frances. She is another octogenarian on our list of Sagittarian superstars. They're so long-lived. Well, what can we say about Jane? She is an actress, writer, activist, and fitness guru. How very, very Sagittarian. She is just the essence of Jupiter. I'm surprised she hasn't made that into a perfume. Okay. She made her Broadway debut in 1960 in There Was a Little Girl, and promptly was nominated for 2 Tony Awards, like you do. She rose to fame in the 1960s in movies such as Barefoot in the Park, and of course the wonderful, unforgettable Barbarella. Don't you just love those outfits? Oh my goodness. She was nominated no less than 7 times for the Best Actress Academy Awards and won twice, once in 1970 for the movie Clute and again in 1978 for Coming Home. Oh my goodness. A vocal and fervent activist, she protested the Vietnam War and was labelled Hanoi Jane. I'm actually stumbling over my words now. I'm so overwhelmed by her Jupiterianness. A fervent early feminist, she actually co-founded the Women's Media Centre with none other than Gloria Steinem. But by the 80s, she decided to concentrate on the lower half of the centaur, put her political activism on hold, and became a fitness guru.
Are you ready to do the workout? Yeah! This is a beginner's workout. Stand with your feet a little more than hip.
The aerobics queen. In 1982, she released the first of 22, no less, fitness videos and eventually sold 17 million copies. It became the highest grossing VHS of all time. Like you do. Way to go. Yes, unite the head and the body. Carry on. Okay. By 1991, she traded in her feminist spurs to become a billionaire trophy wife when she married Ted Turner. 10 years later, she divorced him and returned to the screen in movies such as Monster-in-Law. I actually loved that movie. I don't know why it was panned. Okay. In 2009, she returned to Broadway after 45 years. And she's currently starring in the Netflix TV series Grace and Frankie. She has received Emmy Awards, SAG nominations, and it just keeps rolling. The juggernaut that is Jane Fonda, with a body of a woman a quarter of her age. What can we say? This is truly super Sag. At number 4, it's Jay-Z. I'm going to make this as short and bitter as possible. You don't really get to knock Jay-Z and live for long. So I'm going to try and keep it clean. I really need my notes to go through his exhaustive achievements. It seems that yet another Sean, this time Sean Corey Carter, born on December the 4th, 1969 in New York City, is going to be the shadow of his sign. Yeah, we had that with the other Sean, Puffy, Diddy, Daddy, whatever. Okay, let me get to it. Sean has come a very long way since his days as the hyperman for Big Daddy Kane. He claims to have been shot 4 times and to have sold crack cocaine in his youth. But we all know that the Hollywood biographies can be somewhat embellished. But of course, Noah's versions. Let's continue. He has been nominated for no less than 21 Grammys. Oh, la 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 la. He has the most #1 records for a solo artist on the Billboard 200 chart and is the first rapper ever to have been inaugurated by the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2017. It goes on and on. He is said to be currently worth 900 million, such is his talent for making all the right friends and being in the right place at the right time, no matter who he has to stumble over to get there. And of course, he is part of the ultimate musical power couple with wife Beyonce. Apparently, they're said to be worth a cool 1.16 billion. I really don't have to go on about Sean's or Jay's brilliance as a businessman. I'm sure you're all more than well aware of the Def Jam sagas, the Rockaware, and all the rest of it. All achieved with a curious lack of facial hair and zero muscle definition. Amazing. What I find most interesting about this remarkably Jupiterian character is how he managed to convince half the world that this was a Rockaware sign. Well, Jay-Z is perfectly entitled to write the sequel to How to Win Friends and Influence People, and he has got a lot of very powerful friends, including Barack. So, what can we say? Sean Carter, you, with a very cool demeanor, have conquered the world, just like Zeus. Your albums, including titles such as Magna Carta, Holy Grail, speaks volumes. All I can say is Hova, Jova, or what else you wish to dub yourself. I'm actually awed. And number 3, Taylor Swift, the youngest of our Sagi superstars. America's not-so-sweetheart is arguably the most phenomenal of that latter-day teen brat pack. Those Pluto in Sagittarius sensations that included Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Miley Cyrus. Those girls who managed to eclipse the boy bands when they erupted on the world stage in the noughties and eventually traumatized our daughters. Although Taylor held out the longest, and as only recently as the Saturn return approaches, traded her squeaky clean image for the obligatory good girl gone bad, and is having a Sasha Swift moment with burning cars, bathing in diamonds, crutch bearing, and an assortment of burning this, that, and the other, and destroying her tween image.
What you made me do, look what you just made me do, look what you just made me do, look what you...
Born on December the 13th, 1989, as we all know, because she made the smash album 1989 to remind us, in a test trip in Pennsylvania, on an idyllic Christmas tree farm to loving parents. Yes, I am not, repeat, not going to exhaust myself any further by trying to review or even begin to summarize her immense achievement. I'm going directly to my notes. I shall even hold them up shamelessly. I feel no shame. Why should I know about Taylor Swift's life story? But For the record, she has sold over 50 million albums, 130 million downloads. Yes, she spearheaded the download age. Has got 10 Grammys, 1 Emmy, 23 Billboard Music Awards, 12 Country Music Association Awards, and 6 Guinness Book of Record. Like I said, needless to say, she was the youngest for just about everything. The youngest to receive Album of the Year, Grammys, the youngest Country Music Artist of the Year, the youngest, we got it, the youngest. But what I find most interesting about Taylor Swift is how she managed to convince the world, back to my notes, that her career was somehow organic. Yes, we know she was a child genius, writing songs in the bathroom from the age of 9 months or something. And yes, she bounded the pavement and managed to convince her parents to move to Nashville, where at 14, just 14, she signed a publishing deal. But I find that one a little bit hard to believe. We'll say no more. And how, despite being such a powerhouse and so obviously driven for success, she remained curiously naive and was a victim of broken-hearted syndrome, and didn't even get called a hussy for a string of boyfriends, including Jake Gyllenhaal, Joe Jonas, John Mayer, Harry Styles, even Tom Hiddleston, and some DJ whose name escapes me. But yeah, curiously innocent and just compelled to write hit songs about her heartbreak. Wow, pure Sagi marketing. Don't knock it. Yeah, I'm feeling it. So, let's just say, Taylor Swift, if this is what you have achieved before the Saturn return, God help us after, if you survive it. I've got to salute you, I really do. At number 2, yes, we're almost at the final curtain. It is the number 1 male Sagi superstar of all time. Old, steely, ruthless blue eyes himself, the one and only Frank Sinatra. Born on December the 12th, 1915 in New Jersey to Italian-American parents. Where do I begin? The King of the Hill. Now, I'm well aware that he is the ultimate sacred cow. And I'm relieved that his friends from Sicily are all long dead. Because I'm going to have to tread very, very carefully. Often cited as the greatest entertainer of all time. Before we try to even begin to summarize his illustrious and prolific career, I'd like to state for the record that one of the reasons I think he is the number 1 Sagi superstar of all time male is because, in true Jupiterian style, I think he is so overrated. But don't tell anyone. I'm not taking away from the man's talent, but quite frankly, with mediocre dancing. Well, unique, but not the most technically brilliant singing. The voice, along with his, I'd say, less than Oscar-worthy acting, although he got one. Oh, he did. Yeah, from here to eternity. I think that it's all been a little bit overblown, driven by his enormous charisma and monumental ego. Now I'm going to really need my notes for this. The voice, or I'd say the rapper, great talking, Frank, great talking. Yes, began his career, like all good Sagis, at a very, very early age, and was with swing bands here and there, and signed his first solo deal with Columbia Records. By 1943, he was one of the earliest teen idols and was the object of desire for the Bobby Sockers, who screamed everywhere he went. During the war, he made wonderful musicals and showcased his dancing with the great Gene Kelly.
What a time we had tonight.
And it just went on. He had scandalous affairs and ended up leaving his childhood sweetheart for the glorious Capricorn that is Ava Gardner. I mean, who wouldn't? Yeah, but when his popularity began to wane, he, with quintessential Sagittarian vision, turned his eye to Vegas. And him and the Rat Pack, well, they just blew it up. Then he resurrected his flagging acting career with a turn in From Here to Eternity.
Got rocks in your head. Angel. I figured you'd be here at choice. I done us, Prue.
And once again, in my opinion, with an overrated performance, garnered himself an Oscar. Oh yeah, what a triple threat Frank was. It went on and on. He resurrected his musical career on his own label and made some of his finest albums like Come Fly With Me, Nice and Easy, and it went on and on. Needless to say, the rest is a very long and extensive history, and Frank just marched into legend status. He retired, he came back, he had legendary TV specials, legendary appearances at his beloved Vegas, and like the other octogenarians, why will I not say that word correctly in this video? He spanned generations with a career that lasted decades and did it his way.
Record shows, I took the blows and did it my
What can I say? I think that Frank Sinatra is perhaps the greatest example of what mediocre talent can become when in the hands of a true Jupiterian. Are you ready? We're at number 1, and suddenly I'm no longer exhausted and I've got all the energy I could need for this inspirational Sag. She is my personal hero and perhaps my biggest musical influence. Are you ready? Here she is, the best. From those humble beginnings and 2 decades of abuse and exploitation, Tina's net worth is said to be in excess of 265 million. She is one of the best-selling artists of all time. She's had success as an actress with Mad Max, Beyond the Thunderdome, and as the Acid Queen in Tommy, and she's known for her incredibly energetic dance moves. A triple threat and an absolutely wonderful woman. Tina has lived up to the Jupiterian hype and then some. She is the poster girl for finding meaning and belief at the end of all that saggy ambition and showmanship. I have nothing more to say. Let the lady herself take us out. Tina Turner, we salute you.